Welcome to the Mole Confidential Season 4, Episode 2.
All right, so we're back, and today we have Piper, Giz, Danny, Extra, and myself, and our horse. So, Episode 2 just aired last Friday. Very exciting, very fun. A little bit quicker on the editing job this time, so I felt better. Curious if people like seeing the heads of the person making comments during the quiz. So you guys made some comments that you weren't sure who was who by voice. Hopefully that helped. But anyway, let's get right into some of the questions. Now, some people have asked about the clock, and in a sense, how I kept the time like that. So let me go there. And it's basically just a simple free running clock. And I have a little button here that I can use to start it if for some reason it would get disabled. And then I have two command blocks. One which is set to this command, which you can see here. And that makes it basically dusk. Gets that effect. When we do the quiz, I break this redstone and I put a piece of redstone here, which then connects to this command block, which sets it to night. So that keeps it nighttime during the challenge, or the quiz and the elimination. In the old days, we would have people always type in /night, and it would, like, if the elimination would take forever, it would start to become daytime. Then we'd actually be like annoyed because it would start becoming bright, and we'd type /night, and it was not very consistent. I won't talk about this, but if people want to know about the gates, you're welcome to ask about how the gates work, and I can describe this and other stuff. So that is the clock. Now, along another behind-the-scenes thing, people want to know how the screen works and turns green. Pretty simple, but let me show you. So I use World Edit. I set one corner of the screen. I do this before we start the elimination. I set the other corner. All right, so then I'm usually standing on the back spot, but we'll stay up close. So basically what I do is I call the player's name, and I wait for them to stand on the block. And I don't do anything initially. I just kind of stay there for a second. Sometimes, I'll wait for dramatic pauses, just to drive them crazy maybe while they're nervous. Then what I do is, let's say the person who's up on here is safe. I type in this //set wool : light green and tell them you are safe. Now I edit out me having to enter this or type it. And then I wait for them to go stand back on their spot in the room. And once they do that, I set it back to white. And again, I edit out when I'm typing these commands. Then if they're eliminated, I do the red color. Tell them
Dun dun dun.
I'm sorry, they've been eliminated. Now it's pretty simple, I think, to figure out how the floor disappears and they fall through. But if you want to know, we can answer that also in a later episode. So that's all we do for that. Now, what I would probably prefer to do is have somebody else do those commands for me. That way I don't have to type it, and then when I edit this part of the episode, I don't have to do all these cutting out all the typing. The only reason I haven't done that is I'm just so afraid that the person will do the wrong colors for the wrong player, because I would hate to ever have it come up red for somebody who's not eliminated.
Yeah.
Not that they would do it, but also I always want to have some dramatic pause and tension. So in the future, I might log in with a separate account just to do that command and just stay hidden with that account. I don't know. But it would make my life easier editing if I didn't have to cut out me typing the commands.
Yeah, another question we've had is, does the mole have advanced knowledge? So basically, yes, the mole does have advanced knowledge of what's going to happen and what the challenges are. We meet secretly with the mole. The mole comes on, has a look round. It gives them all a chance to think about how to, sabotage the challenge. With me, when in season one, I remember sneaking on really early in the morning and very, very late Bill was this morning to see what was what.
All right, so a question related to the contestants, and we have some contestants here. An extra's going to take this question.
So people have been asking when the contestants are speaking during the questions, is that recorded when they are taking the quiz, or are those thoughts recorded separately? Usually, what will happen is we will be asked our thoughts, what we think on who the mole might be, etc., before we take the quiz. And the reason why it's done that way is because sometimes it can be really like so close on the questionnaire that it can come down to speed. And obviously, being asked the questions and stuff like that during the quiz would be distracting and might affect the votes.
Yeah, and when we do get those interview questions, I drag each player alphabetically into a private Mumble channel called the interview room, and I just ask them, Piper, who do you think is the mole? If she was a player, and Piper gives her thoughts, and I say thank you, and then they leave the room, and I drag in alphabetically the next person, and I ask them, Horse, who do you think is the mole? And blah blah blah. We go through until we're done, and then once that's all done, I tell them, hey, it's time for the quiz. We post a link to the quiz, and all the players jump in and take it as quick as possible, and hopefully as accurately as possible. All right, so another question that comes, or comment that comes up, and this is kind of like the curse that I think all YouTube channels have, is some people have commented that they don't like the length of these episodes. So my only comment to that kind of, or answer to that is tough. It has to be what it is. I don't like the idea of cutting them all into multiple episodes. I don't want to have challenge one, challenge two, be separate episodes and maybe tag the elimination onto the challenge two. I think people would prefer to sit and watch it in one sitting. It is, in a sense, our TV show, and it's around 40 to 50 minutes. And that's on par with a lot of TV shows. So, no commercials. You can pause it whenever you want. You can jump forward if you like. I don't like the idea of cutting challenges up either, like chopping out stuff, because I want you to be able to see the whole challenge and see if the mole does anything, and let you have the chance to be observant. And you might see things that I miss because I don't know exactly what the moles are going to do. All the seasons that we've done this, I've given the moles advice. My helpers have given the moles advice. Moles don't always listen to what they've been told as advice, then they do their own things. So it's going to be the length it is. Some challenges are quicker than others, and in those cases, the episode could be shorter. But you're looking at about a half hour to 50-minute or so episode. Uh, jump forward if you don't like it. I don't know what you guys think about this subject.
I like it because it's like a normal TV show, and I think everybody's quite lucky to be able to watch something like this, and you know, it takes us ages to do it, so be grateful.
I mean, we get people who tell us your videos aren't long enough. I mean, we live stream. I think the last couple days on live streams, there's been people come on and say your videos should be longer. So no matter what we do, we can't win. They're either too
No,
short or they're too long. But Mole is always going to be 40, 50 minutes. If you don't have the time to watch it, wait till you do. If it's you never have that much time, then don't watch it or fast forward. It's up to you. But I don't really think people would like it if I cut this up into multiple episodes. I just don't think
no.
it works. All right, so here we are at Challenge 3. Now, this was Piper's challenge. The players did fail. And, I mean, let's show what we had here was the escape. Now, obviously, the players did not help the helpless person get out. So I'm going to
No.
break these blocks. So you can see there was too high, too deep obsidian. So from what we understand, trying to break that by hand would have taken way too long to get out because you can't jump over one block when there's no other height. So the helpless person would have not been able to get out in time even if they did try to use their hands. But we did not want them using their hands. So you saw from the video what they could see through here. But basically, this was a toughie, this part over here. And Piper, you may want to explain some of the difficulties and challenges we had here. And then what happened with the players.
Yeah, the idea was we put glass all the way around, and the only thing you can place on glass is a red a redstone torch to open the door. But they came up with this whole putting the cobblestone here with the lever, and I hadn't even thought about that. Um, so yeah, that was really good. And then tracks going through with the minecart in the chest is what we wanted, and then they could have taken out the diamond pickaxe and mined their way through the other side and got onto the diamond square.
So
that was the plan.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hardest part with Mole is you never know what players are going to try to do, and there's so many options in Minecraft and so many things that you can't foresee. I think if the challenge worked very well. It's just the players weren't able to come up with the solutions quick enough, or was it the work of the mole? Who knows? All right, so here we are in the challenge for Coal Mine Dungeon. Now, this was built by Mario, and if he was here right now, he'd say, "Ooh,
Ooh.
you snake." I don't know what else would he say. So this was a fun one for the players because they obviously had to go through these rooms fighting and trying to stay alive. PvP was turned on, so friendly fire could happen. And the way this one worked is Mario was invisible and so was Piper. And actually, I turned invisible for this one also. Mario would spawn the mobs, and he was doing that himself. And then Piper, once the mobs were done, Piper would throw the key, the lever down for the players to escape. And you also, Piper, once they all came into a room, you would close the door behind them.
Yeah, I locked it. So it trapped and could go backwards.
We were a pretty well-oiled machine for this one, but this one was very difficult. And that's kind of the problem, too, when you work on the mole. A lot of times me and the helpers, like with me, I'm trying to record, and a lot of the quiz questions that we come up with relate to how players do things. Who enters rooms first? Does the mole enter the room first or step on the mat first? All those kind of things. So sometimes we have to go back to the footage, or they record, even though we don't maybe use the recording, but we have to really look into to see what happened. The one thing that was funny was, of course, the players did figure out when they got here to this room that it wasn't really over. And they all speculated that the floor might drop out right when it did. And then they came into this room and had their final battle. But I enjoyed this challenge. I thought it was that both the challenges in this episode worked out really well.
Yeah, I really liked it. It was just really good. Very different as well.
All right, so here is a tease for something coming up in our next episode. What could it be? All right, so here we are at Gumball Watt 23's room. Let's see if the mole had anything to say. Looked like he choked on his gumball. What? Love the mole. Mole, very, very witty. All right, so during our first episode, you guys had a week to vote on who you think is the mole. So the results are in. You're currently voting on who you think is the mole after episode 2. But after the first episode, you guys think, or you guys thought, Gumball was the mole. Well,
Ooh.
obviously you were wrong because Gumball was eliminated. So you're obviously not voting this week for Gumball, but next episode will reveal who you think is the mole after the second episode. So if you haven't voted yet, go back to the second episode, click the link in the description, and go vote on who you think is the mole. Because right now, you guys are off target as a whole. And lastly, and certainly not least, that favorite moment. Take it away, Giz.
The mole comment of the week.
All right, our mole comment of the week comes from, I don't even know how to pronounce this, Nahirka Kala? Or
You could say
Nahirka?
Nikki Cherry.
I could, but I won't. And she says,
I love the mole. Looking forward to seeing what the rest of the series holds. Each episode is amazing, and I think the players are great. Catface, Nikki_Cherry.
there you go. So that concludes episode 2 from season 4 of Mole Confidential. So if you guys want to say goodbye.
Bye.
Hey.